Hello and welcome to Sidequest. This is our weekly video game show here at Geekverse. I'm your host, Dylan Muss, and I have with me the best at what he does, Travis Snell. How's it going tonight, my friend?
It's going good. We got lots of fun stuff to talk about. We got a holiday day tomorrow, which is kind of strange, a Tuesday break, and just stuff's popping off, getting ready. October's a very busy month. You know, we got lots of retrospectives coming up. I know you might throw it at some point, but we're getting closer and closer to Extra Life. This week, I'm going to start putting out the details. Taylor's finalizing the shirts plural this time. I'll tease here. I don't think we ever said this was Sidequest exclusive. There's going to be 3 shirts you can buy this year if you want to. So, yeah, look out for that.
That's like a whole wardrobe for some people.
It is,
all in 1 year's GV shirts. We'll talk about some of that stuff later on. But yeah, in this episode, should be a fun, jam-packed one. Talking about some of the games we've been playing. Mostly for me is the Hitman Bruce Lee DLC that kind of just came out of nowhere. A new Lord of the Rings game is kind of leaked to be coming. Yeah, is cooking. You know, put that meat back on the menu. Some Kojima news, a whole lot of it, and I don't even understand half of it, so maybe you can help me with that, Travis. And then State of Play happened last week that we are going to break all that down as well. So, should be a fun episode, and how about we get right into it. I'm going to talk about Hitman first. So, yeah, this I feel like this came out of nowhere for me a little bit because, you know, I feel like just over the summer there was so much stuff from IO Interactive. You know, obviously a ton of Bond stuff, but they also had their own showcase where they showed off Le Chiffre, you know, Mads Mikkelsen coming to Hitman as an elusive target. And I feel like it seemed like that was not that long ago, and so I wonder if they just didn't have the things lined up yet. But yeah, they just kind of announced, the next season we're doing a Bruce Lee thing, and it's pretty much like out now. Maybe they announced a few days before, but I feel like it came out pretty hot and heavy, and I'm kind of just surprised that wasn't part of like their whole summer thing of like, in the fall, stay tuned for Bruce Lee. But like I said, maybe it was some weird rights thing where they just couldn't talk about it yet at the time. I'm not sure how all that stuff works, but this is a weird and different one because they've done a bunch of these celebrity characters in the game now, and sometimes it is an actual person, but I think most of the time it is them playing like a fictional character. Obviously, Le Chiffre was one pulled from a different movie, but other times it's like they're taking a celebrity and giving them a new character and storyline for the game, and that's always your target as far as the ones that I've played. But this one's a bit different because Bruce Lee is not your target, and instead you're in this like fighting game tournament it's like I don't know if it's like kung fu, like a kung fu.
Because I've only seen the image.
Match.
I only saw the image of it going around, so I didn't know. I hadn't looked more.
It's set in Bangkok. Have you played the Bangkok map? It's like the Thailand one with 2 big hotels, fancy hotels, kind of right next to each other.
Remember we went into that. I didn't fully own the game that I thought I owned. Remember, because I got confused with. I thought some of these, like when you've been talking about Hitman 2 for years, I thought you were talking about the original Hitman 2 remake. So
right. Okay.
I still only have the very first Hitman. I don't know World of Assassination. At some point I will. But,
I think Bangkok's
a good
from Hitman 1, but I don't know. Maybe you haven't. It's one of the later ones, maybe. I'm not sure. It's funny enough because it is one of the ones that I feel like for a lot of people on their ranking falls towards the bottom, but it is a good map because there are a couple levels of the hotel that are almost like a conference hall kind of thing, and so they've done things like this before where they're just like, oh, we're just going to dress it up differently, put in some new props, new characters, and so it's a good map for that. And I do always like this map, so it's fun to have it back here. But yeah, the setup is that Bruce Lee is here, he's competing in this tournament, and the winner of this tournament will get exclusive access to this kind of criminal organization ring, so he needs to win this tournament to like get an invite so that he can go in there, and he's like an agent in this.
You're literally in a Bruce Lee movie, it sounds like, pretty much.
It's pretty crazy, yeah, but the difference there being that, you don't have to take Bruce Lee out, you have to take out his opponents or weaken his opponents, and then there's like a head honcho guy that, runs this whole thing, and you got to take him out as well. And they've kind of done that once before. One of the maps in Hitman 3, you had to take out a target, but there's also a secondary objective to defend someone, keep them alive. So when like certain events trigger certain things, then you got to make sure that it doesn't like sick another assassin on the person you're trying to defend. It's also like from all the missions I've played, like the elusive target ones, it feels like the absolute smallest because you start in this level. You always start in Agent 47 is like rented out a room of this hotel. Nice. So you start there, and then like right up the steps from there, that next floor up is where the tournament's being held, and the tournament takes place over kind of like 2 floors. And that's pretty much it. So you're in just like this one building for pretty much all of like the actual points that make this particular. You could obviously run around and go grab items if you want, but like everything is kind of sanctioned to this one small area. And then like I guess you would just have to leave there just to get to your exfiltration wherever you choose to do that. So it feels like maybe the smallest mission I've seen. Often maps like there's like maybe 2 two people, so you're kind of forced to go to opposite ends of the map. But this one, you really can just play in this small area. It's also one that has an escalation, so once you beat it the first time, you go into a second tier that's even harder. So pretty much the way it works, you go in there, you can interact with Bruce Lee, you're hanging out, you can talk to him, he'll give you some tips, or he'll ask for stuff, that kind of thing. You got to go find this main guy, take him out at some point. But then also you're seeing like the bracket for the tournament. It's like up on a big poster thing on the wall, and there's certain people that he's gonna be facing off against, and you have to kind of either weaken them or take them out, or sometimes you don't have to do anything. There's a lot to this that I feel like there's so many trees.
A little tricky in a fighting tournament. Some rules are being broken right there.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's just like they give this person 2 minutes. They didn't show up for their match, and like, okay, well, you're disqualified. We're gonna move on. It's like, yeah, I poisoned that lady, and she is knocked out cold in the bathroom, and no one thought to look for her. So that's the kind of thing that happens. But the first time I went through on the pre-escalation part, I was going up to the top level. I'm like, okay, that must be where the head honcho is. I'm gonna go up here. I saw there's a door. There's a guard in front of the door. I'm like, if I run in this room, maybe I can get in there quick enough that he won't see me and chase me. But he saw me run in there, and he immediately alerted like everyone else. And I was like, shit, I don't know what I'm going to do. I just hopped into a closet, hung out there for like 5 minutes. Guards are flying everywhere trying to find me. And then, eventually it cools down. They can't find me in this one little closet. So they peace out. And then eventually I get out of this closet. But thankfully, that room I went into, this highly secured room, is where the target ends up later on in his cycle. At some point, he comes into this bedroom. So he just walked right into my trap, essentially. Domed him in the head. He had one guard with him, took him out too. Didn't alert anyone else, thankfully, in that sequence. Went back downstairs. Bruce Lee had got poisoned, so he was like paralyzed. But I went and took out this one lady. She had the antidote in her pocket, so I gave him the antidote. And then he went on and won the tournament. Cool. I won the mission. So then you go back in. But this time, the escalation to it is that you're not allowed to kill anyone. So you have to knock people out without, actually killing them. Just knock them out in the head. But then it's like, okay, but your objective is that you have to kill this guy, like the main head honcho. So I think the way it's trying to get you to do it is to set up the fight in a way, because that guy will eventually challenge Bruce Lee. And then I think you're supposed to set it up so that Bruce Lee will get a fatal kill on him in this tournament. Although I have to redo it and actually successfully do that, because I ended up failing it this time. It was a wild journey. This time I'm like, okay, I know the map a bit more now. I know where people are. I'm going around. I know who the 3 opponents are that I have to take out. One of them, thankfully, he goes into a pretty secluded room, so easy, knock that guy out cold. The girl that I mentioned before, once again, I had a poison dart, hit her with a poison dart, she goes to the bathroom, knock her out. Cool, she's out of the picture. The third guy is a lot more tricky. He goes on the cycle, he does his fights, and then he goes over to the, there's like some chefs, caterers, and he keeps complaining. He wants the fugu fish. He wants this very specific fish, and they're not serving it to him, because that's like that fish that's like, I think it's like the puffer fish, where it's just like toxic if you don't prepare it correctly.
Yeah.
Of course they have that in all these Hitman games, because that's a great way to set up a kill. Anyway, he really wants this fugu fish, but the chefs don't want to serve it to him because it's too dangerous. They don't want to please this guy. So I go into the kitchen. I get my waiter outfit. I go in this kitchen. I'm trying everything. I'm like, how can I get these 1 or 2 of these chefs out here? There's 3 of them. I can never get them alone. But I'm like, I'm gonna just go for something crazy. I throw like a bag of sugar on the one side of the room. It explodes. They all get distracted, and then I just like a bag of sugar. Like the sugar pops everywhere. Okay. Yeah, not like an explosive.
This was C4 or something.
Well, how would you describe that then? It flowers, it peppers, it snows. I don't know.
No, you're probably right.
Kind of explodes.
No, you're right. Yeah.
Yes, but not like a literal C4 explosive. Anyway,
you just never know in Hitman, right? You
yeah.
Never know.
Throw that in the
corner.
corner.
Put a lot of stuff in things, so.
That's true. Throw it in the corner, distracts them, and then I'm able to grab a frying pan, knock them all out. Thankfully, I don't think anyone comes into this room. So then I grab one of the chef uniforms, and now it's perfect. I'm like, okay, I'm going to grab this fugu fish. I'm going to put it on the table. This guy's going to come around. He's going to eat it. He's going to get sick, and he's going to get knocked out of the tournament. That's what I thought what was going to happen. I put out the fish, but and then like 5 minutes pass, 10 minutes pass. This freaking guy hasn't come back in his cycle. I'm like, where is this guy? I walk out to the main room. He is getting geared up to fight Bruce Lee. So I missed the opportunity to poison him with this food. And now he's fighting Bruce. I'm like, shit, I might have just messed up here. Thankfully, Bruce still wins. So even though I didn't do anything, Bruce still won the fight. I didn't need to take this guy out. That's where I'm a little confused about like how all these things work out. And then, okay, so that guy, he loses his fight. That's fine. He goes off to do his thing. And now the big head honcho is here to fight Bruce. I'm like, okay, here's the final moment. I don't know what's going to happen. I tried to like find a way to poison the head honcho so that like Bruce Lee could easily win in a fight against him. couldn't figure out how to do that. So I'm just sitting there. I'm waiting. There's a lot of shit talk going back and forth. He's telling he's going to take Bruce out, all this stuff. Right when they're about to start fighting Travis, that fucking guy walks over to the fish, eats the poison fish, dies, and I lose the mission because I'm not allowed to kill anyone.
Oh, no. Why'd he eat the fish? He just saw it, was like, this looks good?
Later on, he finally, his cycle moved past the fight, and he went to go try his fish. And I thought the fish would just, like, maybe poison him, so then he would go to the bathroom to, like, puke, and then I could knock him out. Did not realize it was straight up fatal and was going to kill him. So the timing, though, could not have been more hilarious, where just the perfect time when I'm watching the fight, that little camera pops up in the top left to show me him, like, passing out from eating this fish and dying on the spot. So I didn't get to see what happens there. So I still need to go back and do it all again and do it a little bit better, which, of course, is kind of the cream of the crop of Hitman. But unfortunately, these elusive targets, they're so stupid. Like, if you lose it, you have to wait 12 hours before you can try it again. Unless
I don't understand.
I think if you maybe pay for this pack, you can just do it over and over in the arcade. I think that's maybe how it works, but that's why I haven't tried it again yet, just because that 12-hour timer. So it's fun. It's cool. It's weird. I like it. I'm going to try and get through there and get the win on it because I just like the setup of it. And yeah, it's fun to have a different kind of objective where you got to protect someone and support someone instead of just straight up killing one guy and then moving on with your day. So pretty good job here. It's pretty fun and different. And I think there's probably other events and things that come with it. I haven't looked into everything on the roadmap. But yeah, there's my latest Hitman adventure.
Nice.
And I haven't played in a couple months, so it was fun to get back in there.
Is this the first one of the elusive contracts that is like a not kill them and do this kind of setup? Like, I know there hasn't been like a ton, but
I think it is.
That's fun, which is also just like, because obviously I've only played that first one in the new series, but then thinking back all the way to the original games that I played, like lots of them were when I was in my youth, but none of them was like a. I think maybe Hitman Absolution might have had something where it's like you want to protect a target, but never to like this amount. Usually protect the target was just like kill this person this amount of time. So it's still like a killing one. So that's kind of fun where you could do that. I still think, I don't know how it would sell, but I still think they should find a way to make like a Mario Maker for this game, because that feels like, which is great because it's like fan stuff where they've probably done so many levels. Like
you can make maps, but it's certainly limited. Like you can't move props around and stuff. But like I've played a couple of SBUBs custom maps.
Yeah. I mean like the Hitman level maker. I know again, I don't know how much it would even sell. Probably not much, but I would love to see it. So
yeah, that'd be a lot of work for like who knows how much payoff in the end. But yeah, the other one, like in Hitman 3, the mission where you do have to defend someone, it's honestly pretty minimal. Like very rarely is that something that actually pops up when you're playing that mission. Like it's pretty easy to not have to think about that much. You pretty much just go on your way. And so it feels for the most part like a standard mission. So this one feels pretty different because like, yeah, Bruce Lee, like it seems like no matter what, he will get poisoned. So you have to get the antidote for him and you have to do that in time. Because I presume if he goes into a fight with the antidote, he's not like paralyzed, but he's becoming more and more paralyzed. So I'm guessing he would get like killed in the fight is kind of the way I'd read it. So yeah, it's fun, something different, and all that kind of good stuff. So there you go, Hitman, new update there. You had nothing that you wanted to talk about in the games we've been playing, right? We can move on.
No, because I've literally played really nothing. Because I said to you, usually my gaming days are Monday, and today lots of sick calls at work, so nothing happened after. And then last week I had a crazy week, so yeah, nothing. No, I'm still plugging away on DK. I will finish it at some point here, but and luckily I'm not. There's no new games on the horizon.
You're officially not playing Ghost right now?
No, just because I'll wait until, especially this week. I found was this out next week or like in 2 days. Like no, there's no way. So Legends, absolutely. But if it wasn't launched with Legends, I'm in no rush. Because again, that's kind of like what we talked about before, where I remember Ghost of Tsushima. Sorry if I'm repeating for people that have listened for a long time, but I remember we saw it, and you and I both thought, oh, looks incredible visually wise, but weren't like a day one buy. And then there was just like a state of play where it clicked. It's like, okay, definitely. I've never had that with this game yet. I'm not saying it's bad. I bet I'm still going to really enjoy, because when I get it for Legends, I'll still play like the whole story and everything. Like I liked that as well. And I guess because it wasn't the greatest, but still we got that. It's maybe because we got that DLC and then Legends. It felt like it's not been as long as wait for myself, because like I played that DLC and you me went for a while. We played Legends a lot, so it's not like, oh, I'm really ready. And again, it has nothing to do with the gender. I just am one of those people that I really wish that Jin was still the lead of it. I don't want the Assassin's Creed where every game it's a new lead. It's like I was invested in Jin. I remember even in our review, like, I'd be very curious to see what the story would be after that. And I guess there is no story. So but one day next year we'll maybe talk about it, at least for Legends for sure. So.
Yeah, I mean, I could see them throwing Jin in there. Maybe
Yes,
in
yeah.
Legends if they revitalize that in some way and it's more like named characters or
Yeah.
something, or even just a costume or something, so you can feel like you're playing as Jin. So
Yeah.
I'm sure
Or even if
that's
it's just
that's a slam dunk.
even if you get like the nightmarish dream version, right? Because you could be like the Ghost of Tsushima. You could literally just call him that,
Yeah,
right?
that would be so sick.
And then you can get like a version where it is him, but then he's like buffed up, kind of like a video game boss, like a Marvel Alliance when you get Thanos, like kind of like that. So yeah, no, it obviously reviewed very well, so that's a good thing. Like I'm excited to eventually play it. So I'm happy that it didn't like have a big drop. Next thing I'm very curious is to see how it does sales wise compared to that first one, to see if that's now just like a franchise they can put out every few years, or if there's gonna be more people like us that are maybe waiting for this or waiting because of Jin or just X, Y, and Z, or same thing like Assassin's Creed that came out earlier this year, right? Their version, like, so I could see some people same thing being like, well, I've kind of played something similar, so I know I'm curious how that sells.
Yeah, no, I similar to you, or like all these reviews I've been hearing sound excellent, and obviously I expected it to be that, but it seems like even beyond just it being new Ghost of Tsushima, it seems like there are quite a few changes in there that are pretty monumental, and in a lot of ways it's a pretty big improvement. So,
Okay.
yeah, that's good stuff. But I still, just wasn't really vibing with it right now. And right now, games are so effing expensive that
Yes.
I have to be extremely vibing with it if you're going to ask me to pay $110 to play a video game. So,
yeah.
I'm gonna wait and we'll see. Hopefully. I don't know if the game would have gone on sale before Legends comes out, or if they release Legends as a separate thing. Because if it's still like that same price, then even if with Legends, I don't know. I really
'cause
want to, but it's just a
next
big
year's-
ask, you know?
Like as we'll talk about the state of play, like next year's just getting more and
Yeah.
more stacked.
Exactly.
I've
And there's
said
so many games
for-
in February and March that I want to play. So if it comes out in that pocket, it's like I'm already spending a lot of money. So we'll see.
Yeah.
And I guess it kind of depends. If Kirkland picks this game up, we'll talk about it next week. If not, unfortunately, just no Ghost coverage on Sidequest. So PlayStation, send us codes and we will gladly play the game. But
yeah, I would do it then. It's just games are expensive. You gotta, and it's like for me, it's always like it is the expense, but it's also what I try now is I don't want to buy a game, play it for a little bit, and then not play it. That for me is the more hurtful. If I knew I was gonna dive right in, plus just like Thanksgiving's come up, getting busy and everything, but that's where it's like for me, that's why I try to go, okay, that's why same with the Donkey Kong, I haven't rushed it because I have been doing like just I'll sometimes do side stuff or on the way because I'm like I want to play this. I don't want to do what I've done before of main campaign and then it sits there and like I'll get back to it, and then it's years later you're like I never touched a single thing again. So I will be looking forward to that. Have you heard it all in the reviews? Because one of my concerns when they first revealed that, have you seen how much more like gunplay there is, or if there's gun usage, or because remember I was like I don't like that. Like does your character use a gun?
I've heard it's pretty minimal. Like you can kind of play the game without it. It doesn't seem like this enemy type. The only way you can take them out is by parrying their attack with a gun.
Okay,
like
that's good.
I feel like it's kind of on the outside of things. Like it's not like now we're the gun game. It's just like one tool in your one feather in your cap, I suppose.
Yeah.
Seems like.
But no, I think when you're talking about the sale, if it will be for Legends, I think like what I said a couple minutes ago, I think that just all depends on sales, right? If it's I think if it sells the same or better, obviously, than the first goes, there won't be sale for a while. If there is a bit of a dip, I could see, especially this is out September, I could see that Christmas time, like even a Boxing Day, even if it's $10 or $15 off, I could see. Yeah, but again, I think that depends on how it does in the opening month or so. So
yeah, I mean, I feel like in the PS4 generation, PlayStation was doing crazy sales. Like God of War, like a year or two later, you could get the game for like $10 or something crazy. And maybe I have my view on that's a little skewed because I had the PS4 late, and so a lot of these things were already out for a bit. But I feel like with the PS5, they've not been doing that. Like there are several games since I bought my PS5. Like Spider-Man 2, for example, hasn't gone on sale once.
They're taking the Nintendo route.
5-10%. So maybe that's just for Spider-Man because that's like I think their second best-selling franchise after Gran Turismo. They were just released like a big thing about that. So
which is crazy.
Maybe Spider-Man is the exception to that.
Yeah.
Since they know it's going to sell, I'm not sure. But even Spider-Man PS4, I feel like that one did go on sale. But anyway.
Even what is Miles going for right now? I'm wondering what that's even.
Yeah, well, they had the PS5 upgrade version, so that was like more expensive with that version.
Yeah, I'm seeing Amazon $58. I'm seeing Best Buy $65. So it's like
Is that for the PS5 copy?
Yeah, it's for the PS5 one, yeah.
Okay.
So the Ultimate Edition is $90 at Best Buy.
That's what they do.
and then
I've noticed
regular
that's what
is
PlayStation's been
$65.
doing. They put the Ultimate Deluxe versions on sale, but they won't put the base game on sale
Yeah.
because that's another one for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth and Remake. Like I want to play both those games, get them. I want to finally knock Final Fantasy VII off the backlog and get ready for that trilogy one. But they only put the deluxe versions on sale. But like the deluxe versions on sale are still more expensive than like the base game, and it's like I don't need all this extra crap. I just want to play like the basic game. I don't need all this. So yeah, it's definitely they've gotten they're sharpening their knives a little bit on the sales, which I think makes sense, and it's probably working for them. But I also just think like now they're releasing a lot less games than they were in the PS4 generation, just because game development take longer, and they've had some huge fails with Concord and like the live service push. So it makes sense that they got to try and get every dollar they can. Hence why they're also putting games on like Nintendo and Xbox and stuff, right?
And even PC, they're getting there quicker. Like they're.
I guess they haven't done
announcing
Xbox yet,
faster.
but they're gearing up for it.
Yeah, they probably will. And that's the same thing when it comes down to we'll see how Ghost does, because I think that's the thing is people are going to be a lot more choosy, and I think tons of people. Again, next year looks to be an expensive year because next year, unfortunately, and I guess unfortunately, there's just a lot of like non-skippable games. I feel like for a lot of people that listen to this podcast and are our vicinity, right?
Time.
Like, I mean, they were just talking about that like a couple days ago. It's like GTA, Wolverine, and Lego is like that's a guaranteed. Okay, there's my wallet
Batman,
right there. That's almost $300. Yeah, Lego Batman, and
Bond,
there's just other stuff.
Resident Evil for me.
Yeah, Bond for sure. Yeah,
Wolverine. Yeah. So tons of stuff. Well, here's a game that's probably not going to come out next year, but maybe in the future. There was a leak today from Insider Gaming that there is a new Lord of the Rings game in development. So Embracer obviously grabbed up the rights to Lord of the Rings video games, and I forget what other thing, maybe the theme park. There's like random
and the
shit
movies
that they
too.
bought.
They have the movie. They've had the movie rights.
I thought they had it's
for the
I thought
first
there was
three
a couple
books.
things they don't have access to.
Yeah, so it's for it's just the Lord of the Rings trilogy. They have the rights to.
Okay, there you go.
And that's why, but they're partnering with Warner Brothers to make the movies, so that's what they're doing.
Gotcha. But anyway, I feel like since that we haven't seen a ton of things announced from them, because even Gollum I think was probably in development before that acquisition happened. And I think since then, like there was a couple of random like mobile games, so maybe they kind of started those, and obviously they continue to fund Gollum and release it and do trailers and publish it and all that. But anyway, this is another one we have here. It's apparently a third-person game. We really don't have any info about it, by the way, so that like you're not going to get much. But third-person game. We don't know the developer yet, and it's being compared to Hogwarts Legacy in a way. But to me, that all that means is that like, Hogwarts Legacy was the best-selling game of that year, and so if you say that, it sounds good for investors, and like it's not like this was a public statement or anything, but that's just to me when you say we want to be like Hogwarts Legacy, it means we want to sell like Hogwarts Legacy, and obviously the suits love to hear that kind of comparison. So to me, that's like as deep as that connection goes, but we could discuss what that would really mean if it actually is like Hogwarts Legacy in some way, because I don't really see the one-to-one of like school classroom. Like I guess it's the open world part of it, but like, I don't know. Maybe you're like a Rohirrim guy and you're training up and going on battles. Like I don't really know how else it could be like Hogwarts Legacy.
Yeah, because I agree with you news-wise on there, but that's why I wanted to throw it to you as far as just like, okay, let's say we're in that room, they're pitching us, they want it to be like that. Let's say it's like that game where it is a bigger. There's an open world map, but it's kind of like Spider-Man New York. Hogwarts, obviously, is Hogwarts Legacy is like Hogwarts the school. Then you have the grounds out there. What if you could pick one location, and you don't go to other locations, but one location in the Lord of the Rings that you could, that's the base, but then you build upon it. What would it be? Like, would it be Shire? Would it be Rivendell? Would it be Helm's Deep? Like, where would you go?
It's not what everyone wanted, but we just got that Shire game, that cozy game, and got really bad reviews. I was thinking of still picking it up anyway, and I didn't. I've been telling myself I'm just gonna buy these Lord of the Rings games, like Gollum and the Shire one, but I haven't. I've held off because the reviews are so bad. They're not even just like these games are okay. They're just horrendous reviews, so I've just avoided them. So I'm gonna avoid that one. I feel like. And this is just my Lord of the Rings risk knowledge coming in here, but like Rohan and like that area is pretty well in the middle, so I feel like you could easily just slap that down as like your home base. Obviously, if you're riding horses, you can fly around, or not fly around, ride around other areas. You can get to some other like key points of locate like pretty quickly. You get down to I always mix up Gondor and Mordor, but like you could get down to like that kind of area. You could go up to some other iconic locations, hit a Helm's Deep, because I feel like obviously you just mentioned that they have specifically the rights to that trilogy. I feel like given that this movie that's getting greenlit is like just trying to pull on our nostalgia feels, I feel like that's maybe what they'd go for here, and what they would have greenlit is maybe it isn't you playing as Aragorn, but it's like these characters are going to be in here. It's people in the mix of that kind of thing. Yeah. I feel like that seems pretty likely to me, if knowing Embracer and knowing that it's just like kind of a cash grab situation. That would be maybe my guess, and maybe my hope as well. But I also think an elven thing could be cool. I feel like I want to know more about these elves, and that could be an interesting setting. But I don't know if that's like, if we go to Mirkwood, if it's just too samey in that way. I'm not exactly sure. But yeah, what do you think? Any other different pitch?
Yeah, like I feel like tons of people, and I thought you might go there, so tons of people are screaming this out. I wouldn't want this because they're lower on my roster of characters I like, but I feel like lots of people would want the dwarves, and like the Mines of Moria, and build that out. Like this year on Extra Life, we will actually play.
Sorry to butt in. Like that is also a game that came out a couple years ago that I think everyone forgets about. Is that you're literally just a Lord of the Rings dwarf in a huge thing, and you build up with your friends and stuff. So I feel like that just happened, and also a game that reviewed kind of poorly. Yeah, but also I think that one did start before Embracer had the acquisition as well. So who knows? Maybe they just want a second shot at it.
Yeah, I just feel like people are like trolls, but I feel like the two is it's either something, or dwarves, not trolls. I feel like to me, it is either Rivendell or it is something man related, whether it's Rohan. I think even though Rohan has the activities, I do think Gondor with the tower and how big that city is, you could build into multiple activities as far as they're not as fun as Legacy, but sword fighting, bow and arrow, craftsmanship. Maybe you can still do horses there and everything. You have like speaking of trolls, like trading against trolls. I guess the other one, honestly, and I don't know, I can't remember what their technically race is. We talk about this all the time with the retro and the Lord of the Rings. Technically, if you want to try to be Hogwarts Legacy, they're like the Nethorian or whatever, like whoever Gandalf's race is. That could be something too, because I think there's obviously the danger of if you make that too magic base, it's just like, well, this is like Hogwarts Legacy. I'm gonna wait till Legacy 2 comes out. Yeah. But sometimes we've seen big people of like, hey, you guys made successful Batman trilogy. You guys want to make games for service? Like, doesn't matter what we think, right? So they could, when you're thinking, Dylan, of like that's their pitch, that could also just be literally what they're thinking. They're like, well, use a wizard. We have wizards, right? Like, you literally could be getting, and don't get me wrong, I think there's some potential.
Plays Radagast, maybe?
Sure, or Tom Bombadil, that's my guy. But, like, I think they're, honestly, like, let's say Hogwarts Legacy didn't exist. If you were playing as, and you're saying nostalgia, even Gandalf, let's say you're Gandalf the Grey as the main character, tons of power sets there, tons of things you can make wherever they're from magical. You could fight, what's the big guy with the sword? Whip. He kills Gandalf in the first one.
Oh, the
Balrog. There you go. Balrog. Yeah, like you could fight one of those. So honestly, Gandalf or a wizard could make tons of sense. But
I think the idea of like playing as Gandalf, because like sometimes in those movies he just like F's off for a bit and like does his own thing. Like it could be interesting to play as him, and like you have to assist the Fellowship along its path to some extent by like going to do these certain things, go to Saruman, go on that whole adventure. Actually be with them at certain times if they just want to straight up go into the same era as those exact, and like just following that same storyline. But then there are little gaps you could fill in there, and that could be I don't know, that could be interesting.
Yeah, so that's obviously the direct one, but yeah, to me it's one or the other, and yeah, just be a question like you brought up too with what they own, and because I still think you can do offshoots of it, but it's just a question of would they make it an actual character, right? Because obviously Hogwarts Legacy didn't do that, and it's funny, there's kind of like a one-to-one comparison, because I think we all have different memories of different games, but I have massive fond memories of Chamber of Secrets on GameCube. I love that game. I played that constantly. That was the starting point to get to Legacy. The same way I have massive, nostalgia for the Two Towers or the Return of the King game. So that's where we've always talked about, I don't think they'd be making a game like that. It does. Yeah, it's funny because you brought up the Drawers one, you brought up the Shire one, but since Shadow of War, we haven't really had like a big AAA Lord of the Rings game, right? So I do think it's time, and I do think that the timing could be there if those movies come out and hit, and I feel like they're trying to make a play for it. We'll see what those movies do. I think Rings of Power feels a bit of like a mixed response with people, but it could strike. I don't think it'll strike as big as Hogwarts though, because Hogwarts is that's a whole different thing, you know. Big
Yeah,
group
I
of
mean
fans.
that like didn't that beat Call of Duty in that year? I mean I think it was like Call of Duty
Yes.
Vanguard or like
Massive
you know
game.
one that no one cares about, but still. Yeah, what do you think? So obviously we're not in the era anymore where every movie that comes out gets a game tie-in, but could this be a Hunt for Gollum game?
Oh God, it could be because you could play as Aragorn. They could give you legitimately just a small area as your main, right? Even if it's not, I don't know whatever is by the Shire, but just something where Gollum's been seen in this village, and then you build that out. And yeah, because either one, because Gandalf's in that story and Aragorn's in that story, so you could do the Gandalf thing, you could do the Aragorn. So I don't think so, because my hope is if they are saying like Hogwarts Legacy, the idea is let's do something separate, but I don't think you're out of the realm of possibility that it could be. I guess the only thing, yeah, I guess it's tough, right? Because you're a double-edged sword. We're making a movie that has Gollum in the title, but we also put out, not we, but like there's a Gollum game that came out that did not do well, so do we want the stink of that? So I would say they'd actually avoid that, and I would hope that somebody over there has the brains to tell them, like, hey, game production cycles don't go, are different than film. So it's one of these things, we don't need the Hunt for Gollum game coming out 2 years after the movie, right? So kind of like when we finally
It's
got
just
the Avatar
unclear
Ubisoft
when
game.
this, because obviously a lot of the info we've been getting about Hunt for Gollum has been somewhat recently, but who knows how long they've been talking about it or how long this game's been in development. But I think no matter what, that production's going to be a lot. Well, because Hunt for Gollum, does it have like a tentative date at this point?
27 right now. Christmas
Okay,
of 27. Yeah.
That's, 2 full years from now. So let's say this game's been in development for 2 or 3 years already or something.
Yeah. How long has
There's a world.
Volt's Republic been in development, though, Dylan? With the Embracer
Well.
group and the team over there.
That's not going to
So that's my concern there. We
yeah,
get this teaser for Hunt of Gollum, and then 2035 we're playing it,
Mm-hmm. Would you prefer create a character or play as a known character?
I think it's tough because I think I'd obviously have to see what the story and the era is, but I think just to lean, I would go create a character. I think that was, and because I'm somebody usually, like I would hate in wrestling games when story mode was always just create a wrestler. It's like, no, I want to play as the wrestlers, but I think some games like a Hogwarts and like this have a certain fan wish fulfillment where it's like you want to be there, and you already brought up of characters around, you want to be in there where Aragorn's giving you the speech, right? Or Aragorn looks like you're my right hand man. You need to help me. I'm gonna go off and you help me do this, or even Gandalf. So I think a create, because I think that's one aspect that tons of people, we talked to our review of that. I think we all spend hours, maybe not hours, but just tons of like character creation, right? Or even after the fact when you could do your clothes or your scarves or your hats. Like I think that's the same thing of everything of like, do you want this big thing of armor? Do you want Mithril? Do you want, and that's, I would hope too, they would be smart, and that's where something, obviously this would create a lot more time, so I don't think they do it, but it would be great if you could, it wouldn't even matter who you are, and I don't think they do it. I was just pitching that if you could do a man, elf, or a dwarf, but again, I feel like that's so much different as far as tax and everything, but could you imagine that if not only do you got to pick one, you could design them, and that kind of gives you almost like a little to the extent of with Elden Ring, when you would pick like the type of character you're going to be in your attributes, right? So it'd be kind of fun if you could do that. I don't think they would. I think they would just go with man and keep it as that. But I say create a character.
So, yeah. I think I'm the same. For that. There's also, of course, like if this becomes a canon story, then it's like, well, now we have this whole other journey that Aragorn went on. It gets kind of weird, especially if this game isn't great, which that is my default expectation, that this game's not going to be good. Yeah. Just based off Embracer's track record and what I think their priorities are. But, we obviously don't know anything about it, so that's probably unfair of me, especially when we don't even have a developer. But I will definitely potentially give it a shot. I mean, obviously the Shire game, Gollum, you got to prove yourself before I'll just pick up your game blindly, even though I love Lord of the Rings. This is not that. And I guess we didn't discuss this, but like War of Rohirrim, what if they do something in that? I mean, obviously that movie didn't really move the needle much.
No.
But do you think they touched that at all, or is that just a
I think because of those receipts.
Because that would have been a fun-ass game, I think. I think there's potential there for a really cool game, cool different characters. Art style-wise, obviously that would be quite a choice for Lord of the Rings. That'd be different than what people expect, but
Yeah. No,
I think that movie just people didn't care about it, but
yeah. No, I never actually finished it. I need to finish it at some point. I didn't care too much for it, and obviously the public didn't either. So I think they'd stay away. And I think, like you said, though, because they did the Hobbit game, they probably stay away from that. Because I think, like you said, that to me that was the pitch where it's the Shire, and you go that you're a Hobbit, you can be a fighting Hobbit, whatever. But I don't think they'll do that. So yeah, and again, who knows what's actually happened? But obviously, it sounds like it's something in the works. So, and like I said, I do think the Shadow games did well enough. Like I feel there is a big base of Lord of the Rings fans. I don't think it's as big as Hogwarts, and I would love that, And even then, I've said this before. I think people thought this was a boring thing. I've always pitched this with the Star Wars games as well. I would take a very well-made AAA, game for both. You're playing as Luke, you're playing as Aragorn, and you're just playing through the trilogy. like reliving those set pieces. And you can add a little new things here and there, but think about like a AAA Unreal Engine 5 now playing Helm's Deep. There could be some really magical set pieces and stuff there, but I think people don't want to go that route. So,
yeah, true. All right, there you go. Lord of the Rings. We will keep an eye on. We'll keep our eye of Sauron on that one for when we get more information about it, which could be years from now. But let's take a moment to thank our Patreon producers: Aaron Braden, April of Darkness, Jack Grant, Sam, Superbad Mike, TGGLM, 69, Jeremy Renner, Charlie Rendell, Cocktail Clay, John with no H, and Sam Green. Thank you all for keeping the lights on over here at Geekverse. Travis, what's going on with the 24-hour stream? Do you want to say that date?
Yeah, so it's November 8th. I think right now we're looking at 10 a.m. PST to start. And but there's lots of good stuff cooking. Obviously, we got some things that will be returning, but we were already announced we're doing the Geekverse Gauntlet Cup. That is at least us four, maybe more people, but it's going to be kind of a throwback to that very first tournament we did where we've all compiled a list. We're going to put names in a hat, probably just a wheel, so we're going to cut up paper, and we're just going to grip and rip. That title is right there. Kirkland's defending it for the first time ever. He won it and never had to defend it. He just got to retire. So let's see if he can actually earn his stripes, But because Dylan defended, I defended, Taylor defended, Kirkland never has done that. But throughout the weeks, T-shirts, events. We're gonna be up for 24 hours, trying to raise money for BC Children's Hospital. Everything is tax deductible, and we don't have to hit our goal. Everything goes there. So if you can donate $1, $5 would be great. And if not, just the day of, share the link or even like the video. That's how algorithms work. The more viewers and whatnot. But we'd appreciate. It's gonna be a very fun time as usual. It's we talked about this a little bit before. GV Day we went to 1 a.m. So if you enjoyed that, we're going past. There's no end in there. We're staying. So and I'm excited because I think we've got to that point where you do the 24-hour stream, and then a couple months later, you're like, okay, I'm good. But now it's the time like, oh yeah, I'm ready for those late nights. Yeah, I'm ready for the wild, crazy stuff, and some fun times ahead. So look out throughout the weeks to be announced. But yeah, November 8th.
Right on. So right now we're going to throw to an ad break, which you could skip if you go to Patreon, where you get episodes early and ad-free. Of course, you get exclusive stuff. You get to vote on all manner of content that you will want to see.
Halloween retro vote right now going on. So
beautiful.
Just let you know. Yep.
We need your votes. So get them in by joining our Patreon. We promise it's worth it. We put so much into it. We put so much in there, and we even have just been talking behind the scenes about adding even more. So it's just every year we try and make it even better and better. It's not sustainable, but we keep doing it. We just keep adding more and more in there. We're going to explode one day like that bag of sugar I threw in the kitchen in Hitman.
Yeah. Well,
but until then, you guys are getting more and more great content. So please support us in our quest to cover everything that ever exists. We're going to throw in an ad break. We'll be right back. Okay, we are back. There's a guy named Kojima. He releases video games. Kojima. He, of course, released Death Stranding 2 that you and I covered extensively here on Sidequest. And he did like a live stream, a Kojima Direct, I guess, where he just announced a bunch of things.
Yeah, I think it was an anniversary stream of the company that created it. It was early for them, but it was late. I watched some of it, but it was legitimately like a GV Day whole thing. So it was like really cool. They even had a whole Death Stranding 2 panel. It was Norman, George Miller, and Guillermo. So I watched a little bit of that because like, oh, this is cool. So it was if you're a Kojima fan, it was a fun stream. I didn't watch the full thing, but
not to put you on the spot, but I don't get it and I didn't watch it. So I would love if you took if I pass the reins over, if you want to lead this segment of the show, because I watched, the OD trailer.
Yes.
I read up on some of this stuff, but I was seeing so little info, and I don't know if these articles are bad or if the info was just not that much of it. So I don't know. Can you guide me through the good juice here?
Well, he even did like a whole. I can't remember if he called them phases, but I think he did. He did. They started it off with the phases of the Kojima or the Kojima productions. They talk about phase 1, which we've already been through. Phase 2 right now was the Death Stranding 2 phase, so it's just getting that game out, getting it on PC, getting some other like additions out there and stuff. So that was that. And then phase 3 is. It sounds like OD, and there's all like smaller goals too. They kind of like what we have, but that's OD right now. And they did obviously see that trailer because it ends up being OD knock. They kind of, I guess, semi-soft confirm that it is like one game, but it sounds like there's gonna be a bunch of like OD's the title, but then there's gonna be like his story is, I think it's his story's knock, and Jordan Peele's gonna be something else, or it's the other way around. So I'm sorry I got that screwed
up. So it's like an anthology situation.
Yeah.
There's also people other than those two, right? That are kind of doing stuff, or is it just?
I think so. Well, maybe, but I don't think they've been named. If so, I think right now it's just Kojima and that, and then he announced that they're kind of very early stages working on Physint, right? That's how you say it,
Physint. Yeah.
Physint, yeah. Working on the early stages. They released box art, which people are
right.
I don't agree with it. I'm not sure if you've seen who people think is on that box art.
Oh, no, it just looked like generic white guy to me. Who is it?
Okay, so the big conspiracy theory is because there's multiple photos with them, and they both
confirmed some voice actors for that, didn't they?
They did, yeah. There's one guy I think from Eternals, and there's one girl. Can't remember who it is, but she's an actress I like in other stuff too. I'd have to look it up, but yeah. So they already got that going, which is, again, he said that
Charlie Fraser, Don Lee, Minami Hamabe. So from Godzilla -1, you got someone from the Eternals, you got someone from Furiosa.
Oh, yeah, Furiosa, yeah. So it's her, yeah, because she's Furiosa's mother in that flashback at the beginning, that whole first act. Yeah, which was so funny because when the movie came out, I was tweeting about it. I'm like, yeah, that's a Kojima actor right there, which I appreciate because I feel like it's the same thing with us. We have little actors like, oh, yeah, that's a GV actor. So, so they announced that, but because the thing is, none of those cast members are like a generic white guy, right? So that's what it's like.
Right.
So they've had multiple photos taken together. They've both said they want to work together. Take a look at that photo, Dylan. Do you see Robert Pattinson on that photo? Because that's what the internet believes who that is.
I don't, actually.
I don't either.
Now, I don't see it at all.
I don't. Now, maybe.
The hair, the facial structure,
the hair,
maybe
I can
the nose,
see,
but I don't see anything else.
The hair I can see a little bit when it's shorter. I can see them pushing forward, but I could see also his face not looking like this because they want to wait a little bit longer.
To be fair, he does look a little 1080 in this.
He does, yes, and it's definitely his. It's his build though too. Like Pattinson's build, he's like a very toned up guy. So that's just the internet conspiracy theory. But it's interesting that they released this and the voice actors because even Kojima expressed like this game's far off. Like he was talking like he's like just wait. But again, they're doing work on it. So I don't know what his far off means because the same thing. I remember last year I got scared or. It was last year or this year with Death Stranding 2 because he said, oh, that's ways away. And then it came out this year because I was like, no. He keeps saying it's...
Right.
To me, if like they got voice actors, I don't think it's as... like I think it's like 3 years still, but I think people were like, oh, it's like another 5 to 6 years. Granted, yes, this could be a PS6 game, right? Or, because it is Sony exclusive or maybe a dual. And then they didn't talk about, remember a couple months ago when he's talking about like a game movie experience. Was that wasn't Physint, right? That was something else, I thought.
No, because there was another thing
he's
in here.
He's partnered with a studio, right?
He's partnered with Niantic, who did the Pokemon Go is their thing, and so something about that of I could pull some quotes or something like that. But essentially, he's working with them to create like some hybrid real life game situation. So that might be the one. But I mean, I also feel like not OD was that too, right? Like he was talking about that being less of a game that as you traditionally see it, and more something else entirely. But is that marketing speak, or does he mean it? I don't know.
Yeah, now the OD, like also talk about that trailer, which I like, and there's more stuff around that too. I love Kojima so much of like not only the quality stuff, but already like around OD and the stuff. It's like there's like the lore within the lore, but like we'll get there. As far as I can see though, with that movie game hybrid, I don't think what I watched they didn't speak about it, and I didn't see any pull quotes of like anything in depth. So I think that's still I think that's even past Physint, but I'm wondering if OD is very much like the trial run, because now that sounding like an anthology game and it is on Games Pass, I imagine that's going to be a day one Games Pass, so it wouldn't be like a full like if I could see it not even being like a full price game, to be honest. That's
I
why
don't
I'm
think
wondering.
so. Yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't perceive it that way. Yeah.
So that's why I'm thinking OD is like the smaller experience, and I think that's kind of the testing ground. And I bet while he was doing that, he found a way like, okay, now I can get this. Because yeah, people have showed the screenshots. I can't remember her name, Sophia, something from the It movies, but like, yeah, we're getting that. Yeah, we're getting that scary point of these graphics are just looking.
Those chairs blew my mind. Those two like sofas, armchairs.
It's ridiculous. So, but yeah, and then
more baby stuff going on in there too.
Always babies with Kojima, you know.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, and then we got that trailer, which I'm sure we'll talk about here. But the other scuttlebutt about that was in the trailer, they have like the setup as far as all the dialogue and all the text and everything, and a lot of stuff's blanked out. She's like, okay, what's going on? Now, this isn't confirmed, but there was just some internet sleuth that put words to where things might be. And I think we kind of figured this already when this game was announced, but it's looking like even there might be some things taken from PT. Like one of the word like symbols match the like taken from, you know, unused files or whatnot. And it was like, it's been 10 years since playable. And it's just like, again, who knows? And I would love it if even that's not true. If Kojima just watched it like laughing, oh, look at this. But I think there's definitely, this is the spiritual successor in that way. And no, I loved this trailer. And I cannot wait to. I was disappointed with no date. I was hoping we were going to get just even a year. But no, I loved this trailer. I loved the atmosphere. I definitely think it's like we've talked about. It's going to be more of a experience. I think it's going to be even like less than this, but I could see it almost being kind of like Hellblade, right? Where obviously there's tons of playing and lots of fighting, but it's more of a cinematic game that you're playing for the story and those emotions. And I feel like OD, especially
super psychological.
Yes. So no, I love this trailer, and I thought like even I think it's dumb, but like even the poster of her with the massive hands around her head, I'm like, that catches your eye like right away. It's like you wouldn't think that, right? Like, oh, the poster for Kojima's next game so far is just a girl and there's big hands around her head. Like, okay, but when you see the image, like right away, now it strikes you like, okay, because they're creepy hands, they're rotting, and it's like, okay, why are their hands that big? So I thought this trailer was phenomenal, and yeah, it was cool. I hope he does this, maybe not every year, but every time they have like a milestone, because I think it was like a 5-year or something like that. It's like that's a cool because. It is crazy for obviously it's Kojima, but with this studio that's still smaller and like a small unit of people, they got tons of stuff going on. You know, they got OD, they got Physint, they got this other, whatever game going on. I'm sure there's other stuff going on. My hope
credit card, releasing a Kojima credit
they
card.
always got stuff like that where the podcast, the credit card, and
oh yeah, the podcast. I
remember Jeff Keighley's big Summer Games Fest announcement? They had
Is
nothing,
that still going on, or was that like a short, like we're doing a 5-episode special of this?
Yeah,
podcast?
I don't know. I never listened, but again, check out our Death Stranding review. I hope somewhere in there's a Death Stranding 3, even if he's not making it, going by somebody, just because. But yeah, I thought it was cool, and yeah, OD, I'm very excited for. But yeah, what did you think about at least OD you saw, right?
Yeah. As someone who never played PT, but like has seen it, of course that is a very iconic thing, and I'm so much more into horror games these days. So I love the look of this. Obviously the visuals are insane, but just the weirdness of it, the creepiness of it, like the just little visual things that are super unique that he comes up with, but always or sometimes feel quite fresh, where she's lighting the candle. Eventually the character like busts through the door, and then like there's a little like photograph of an eye on the window, and as the character's like approaching, the eye like starts like freaking out and twitching and looking around. Little things like that, just like little personality bits put everywhere. Obviously the weird creepiness with the baby. I don't know, because does he have kids? Kojima, do you know?
I don't think he does. I can take a look, but I don't think
he's
he
like
does.
50 or 60 or something. Like he must have. He
has 2 children. I just feel like I've never.
I wonder if there was like some really traumatic shit that happened with like the birth of his children or something. I just feel like some of the continued themes of going back to weird baby
or even,
stuff is like it
happens to a lot of people. Somebody could have lost one of child's like before, like early on, right? That it's very common, unfortunately, with pregnancy. So it could have even been something like that, because always, especially with Death Stranding, it always feels like the loss of a child, which there's nothing there. But obviously, if you're somebody that happens all the time, if you could, many versions of that. So
yeah. No, I mean, there's not much in the way of gameplay here, but I was not ever since the start of this expecting it to be a big gameplay thing. Obviously, when the first showing of it is just like, well, I forget if it was live action footage or it just looked so realistic that we thought it was live action footage, but of just Sophia and Hunter just like screaming and making weird faces. Like, oh yeah, this is not going to be a game like a game I've seen before. To be fair though, I guess Death Stranding, like that first game, the trailers for that did not show much gameplay until like the very end, and then like in the last month or two is when he did the blow of like, hey, you can put this ladder down and climb this ladder. Like we didn't see that stuff until like very close to the
we
release
barely
of
knew
it.
the game. Remember Death Stranding? We barely knew the gameplay, right? It was like they weren't, and which made
But
sense. They weren't going to preview a walking sim at the time, right?
But even what they show here, like the way the characters' hands are moving and stuff, it makes me feel like, oh yeah, this is all gameplay that you're seeing. Like you are the one controlling all this, and obviously it's like very cinematic. And if you're actually playing it, you can like flip your camera around, do 360s, and like take yourself out of it, ruin the immersion, so to speak. But and then I'm sure as you like start lighting the candles, it locks you into the cutscene, so you can't turn around and see the guy, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I'm excited for this. I can't wait to see what's going on with it. The Jordan Peele aspect of it as well is extremely interesting to me, and that also makes me feel like it's probably not going to be a super gameplay heavy thing because yeah, I don't know if he really knows much about game development, and I don't know if he plays many games. He's more of a movie director, and nothing wrong with that, but it's cool to see how these worlds can blend. And so, I don't know, do you feel like, is it that Kojima's Productions is still making that the gameplay part of the Jordan Peele stuff? It's just that Kojima isn't like quote-unquote directing it? Or do you think it's like there's some other team that's making this thing and they're like kind of sticking it together?
I feel like even if it's the other team, Kojima's like highly involved. Like this would be the comparison I would make that, and just walk with me. For the first season Peacemaker, James Gunn directed every episode, and then because of Superman, he couldn't direct every episode of season 2, but he thoroughly oversaw everything. I think just because it's Jordan Peele, Kojima would be the same way of like, yeah, I'll have my team work on it, but he would be in that bay almost as much as
that's true. There could even be like the
possible,
marketing angle where like Peele is really not involved a whole lot, but he just like, you put his name there and he goes on stage.
Or maybe he just
and,
wrote
like,
the pitch, right? Of like, hey, I have this idea. I don't think it would work as a movie. I don't really make short films anymore. I like games, and who knows? We don't know. Maybe he is like, maybe he just loved Death Stranding, right? It came out that was a game around COVID time. Maybe when people had nothing to do and couldn't make movies, he booted up the PS5 and Death Stranding spoke to him, right? So I mean, it could be that where it's like, hey, use a short story and make a game out of it,
Yeah, like maybe Peele had like, this is a movie idea I had, and it didn't quite work out as a movie, so go ahead. Because even like obviously the language barrier of that, like I assume most of his team, obviously it's a Japanese studio, most of the team, like he doesn't even speak English like fluently, I guess, or like I don't know, when I've seen him in interviews, it's
I don't think he's fluent, no.
Yeah, so it, like obviously there's going to be a disconnect there if Peele's working with like his Japanese team. Like anyway, so I have this crazy idea like in Get Out where there's like a person inside of a person's head and then you fall into the sunken place and like all this could not translate super well. I could see that happening. So we'll keep an eye on what's going on here with this one.
Do you think that's next year?
OD?
Because they didn't date it, so that's why I was surprised. That made me question if
when
it
did
is.
We first see OD?
It was last year.
No, it was at least 2 years ago now, I feel like.
You think it was 2 years ago now?
I think so. Let me see if I get... first revealed the Xbox Developer Direct in November 2022.
Oh
so
my god! So
3 years ago is when it was first announced. So I could see it being next year if it's a shorter thing.
Yeah.
And I don't know, like, considering like the anthology-ishness of it, like maybe it doesn't release all at once. Like maybe you get part 1, you get OD Knock next year, or a few months later you get OD.
Next you come back next
OD
year.
Get Out. You get whatever the next one is.
I would love it. And this is just another rant that me and Taylor at the end of October were reviewing the It Show. They're dropping the first episode the last week of October. I'm like, I don't understand that. That's what I would do is prime marketing October. Even like I'm not sure, maybe it's just 2, but let's say you have 4, drop 1 a week, man. That'd be some fun bonus side quest episodes right there. Because it's just because I never played it that way, but when I played Alan Wake this time, because all the chapters are together, I'm like, oh, that would have been fun to come back every.
Yeah, normally
week,
I do wait, but this is one that I would definitely check out as they release them. I think, especially if it's on Game Pass, which I think they already announced that it is. So presumably you would just easily jump in there.
Even if they don't do that, that'd be at least, that's what I'm thinking is either it's going to be usually because what the first Death Stranding was November, this one was when was this? This was in, when did we
Death
just
Stranding
review
2?
this? July?
Came out June 5th, I think.
June. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I think because if it's creepy, you're either gonna get it, and I don't think it's early next year. So my prediction is gonna be fall next year, and they'd be smart dropping that October, dropping that spooky month.
Yeah.
Get that going. So
Yeah, that would be very cool. Was there anything else from this this direct, whatever you want to call it, Kojima Fest?
yeah, no, again, if people like Death Stranding, I'd recommend go check out the panel. Like it's Kojima, Guillermo, and George Miller, like three great minds in different sets and stuff like that. So it's yeah, I would recommend giving it a watch. So
Right on. Let's move on then to the Sony State of Play that happened last week. So you and I did a live watch along for this, which is still on YouTube if anyone wants to go back and watch us react to all this stuff. And then we did a little cutout of the Wolverine section specifically, threw that up on the feed so people could have already seen that. We're going to talk about the Wolverine a little bit more here, as well as at least the highlights from the showcase here. How do you feel about the showcase overall in hindsight, quality-wise? I don't know if you want to give it a number out of 5 or whatever, but yeah, how do you feel about it?
yeah, out of 5, that's a tough thing. Out of 5, I feel like I'd give it like a. Obviously, we got the Wolverine, so that was a hype thing. But I feel like it'd be like a 3.5, like right there. I feel.
That's what I was gonna say. Yeah.
Yeah, like I feel like if Wolverine wasn't here, it would have been rough because I remember there was some stuff while we were watching. I'm like, okay, what are we doing here? I remember there
I was
like
losing hope too that Wolverine was coming. I
Yeah.
was like, oh, this is gonna
especially
be
that
bit of a
Kratos
stinker.
remote. I was like, same thing. I was like, I know people are excited for the 2D God of War, but that's not the same chutzpah as like a Wolverine, right? Or even a new God of War. Like it serves a different audience, right? So, no, I think obviously the first game is called Saros, right? That's the name?
Saros.
Yeah, Saros.
Saros.
Yeah, like you said, it does look like Returnal, but I think it was like a good showing. I enjoyed that. There's another game we'll talk about that I enjoyed a lot too. But there's just there's a lot of stuff where okay, I'm very excited for Halloween, but showing this off and being like September of next year, it's like
weird.
well, there's a lot of those things where it just for a while it felt like, are you just doing a state of play for the sake of doing a state of play? And then even myself, like I'm not the biggest anime guy, but they do one of the things that I hate where they did like 5 minutes of just like different games that are kind of that flavor but all mixed together and they just become one. To me it's like spread them out or save for different state of play, like hey, you're gonna be here, you'll be on the next one. So I thought it was like it was a good time. I think obviously they started strong and then ended very strong, but without Wolverine then I think it would have been probably in the failing grade. Like I don't know what else would have been there. Like God of War 2D would have had to look really good then too, but even just stuff like I guess people are buying them, but like, oh, we got speakers. It's like, all right, I don't know anyone who's buying these speakers. Maybe there is, but yeah. So I thought it was a solid show with a strong ending. So
Yeah, no, I like I said, I think I'd give it the same grade. It was kind of rocky. Like there was a couple, really cool things for me, smaller things I didn't know about. So fun, couple surprises in there. But I think until Wolverine hit, it was like, okay, this is going to be a lesser, state of play situation here. But then they really did stick the landing with not just a quick another teaser of Wolverine, but like here's a trailer and then here's 5-10 minutes, whatever it was, of developers talking about the game, meet the actor, so you get like a bunch more information, and then a tiny little bit more came through when they like did their blog post. Not a whole lot more information, but like a couple more details in there. So to me, that was kind of a great way to close it out. And then I think this State of Play did what I often critique Xbox of doing in their showcases and other showcases in general is it gave almost everything had a date or at least a range, and almost everything, I think actually every single thing probably had gameplay. So that's what I want, dates and I want gameplay in these showcases, and this State of Play absolutely nailed that. Like they weren't being too cagey about anything, weren't showing like here's something to get excited for 3 years from now. Like Halloween was the most egregious one, but even that, like, well, they still gave us a date and it's still a gameplay, so there is still something to chew on there. So I feel like that they did a really good job here of like, okay, if each game gets 2 minutes, what kind of things are we putting in there? And then closing it out with a date. Cool, put it on my calendar. Now I'm kind of set up for the future. So I think they did a good job here of kind of filling in the blanks a bit, because we've been a little curious. Okay, with Ghost coming out, what's next? What's the next big thing? Saros maybe is that for certain people, because that is a first-party studio now, I believe. And then Wolverine kind of now we can presume is kind of that next thing that's coming out. And so obviously you got to kind of fill in the gaps, because that's like a year from now, pretty much.
Yeah.
And I think they did that with filling in some other things. And I'm sure that maybe that God of War 2D thing does come out earlier in the year. But they also might just want to stay away from the black hole that is Grand Theft Auto. So maybe they just don't care. Maybe they're just going to not release anything for a few months and say, hey, well, the only thing you're going to buy on our platform is GTA, and we get a cut of that, so we're happy.
And we'll make the Wolverine money later on in fall, which we know they will. I think they've, obviously, we just talked about this on those games for a lot. I know a lot of people weren't hot on Spider-Man 2, but I think that's more like I think it's more our crowd where it's like you expected these big leaps and bounds, where I think most general audience people were, oh, I got more Spider-Man. That's awesome. You know, like I think same thing with Wolverine, especially even with the, we talked about a little bit, just the more M-rated stuff. I think that does appeal to a different crowd. So, but I that's why I will say, even though I was happy we got Wolverine, when we got the date, I actually thought it was going to be early, because I thought usually, like even Spider-Man, when they did like a bigger reveal, that's when we're like, okay, we're starting to go, because they did that first teaser for Spider-Man and the greatest showcase of all time at that E3, and then we didn't hear about for a long time until they were like ready to go. It's coming out fall, and then that's why I thought, it's going to come out early next year. And same thing like Halloween when it was September. I was like, oh, fall. So again, I get, but I think you're kind of right that maybe it's just Saros, Wolverine, some probably little stuff along the way, but we'll make our big money on GTA. We'll make our big money other places, Call of Duty, Madden. Like they're making tons of money still for just other gaming stuff, right? So remasters, they're going to remaster Last of Us, part 2 for another time, so.
Yeah, probably. Well, they did announce that Last of Us Part 2 is now on the PlayStation Plus catalog, so that's a big hit. That's a big reason to subscribe. Like I definitely will like I currently am subscribed at the lowest tier, so I can play Helldivers with you guys. But then, I will probably jump up to that top tier again to play Last of Us whenever I want to get around to that kind of thing. So that was a nice addition. But yeah, I started off with Saros, which is the latest game from Housemarque. So of course they did Returnal, and this very much looks a lot like Returnal, so it's kind of just more of the same. It's a game that I've heard really good things about. I have not got around to it yet, unfortunately. And I think this looked good, but the trailer for me was a little bit goofy, where it was like, okay, now we're going to do the little sizzle reel where we show off all the powers. First power, shield. Second power, dash. I was like, okay, like
which I like the dash. I like the way it looks.
It's cool. Yeah. These are all good things to have in a game like this. That's like a bullet hell third-person thing, but it just wasn't the most exciting. But I think they just kind of had to find some way to make this seem extremely exciting. And then the main criticism I had was, okay, I like the environment, but it's a little samey. And then like near the end of the trailer, they're like, here's like 5 or 6 very different locations visually, which makes sense if it is going to follow that Returnal thing of kind of being a roguelike where you're going through this presumably desert area first, and then you go up to the next zone, and then you get story stuff in between. So yeah, I think it looks super solid. It looks really fun. I still, I'm going to go back to Returnal before picking up this one, of course, because that's definitely on the backlog, and I think that is on the catalog as well right now, PS Plus. So
I think so. Yeah.
I've never played a Housemarque game, but I think that they're making a very specific type of game. I like that they're sticking to it, and it seems like they're keeping their like budgets and timelines in check, because I feel like Returnal came out, well, was it 2020? Was it 2021? Maybe it's longer than I think.
It's pretty early on the PS5. Yeah, it was like one of the first exclusives, so.
But here we are, just 4 years later with a new game, which is short for these days and how long productions are. So
a good looking game too. It's not like, oh, what happened here? Obviously, like you said, it's similar style, but sometimes it's just. But no, I think for me, I was interested in this, but kind of, I just echo your sentiments that it just made me go, oh, I want to play Returnal, because now I remember I was very Returnal. I maybe would have bought day one, but at that time, didn't they have that whole like insta-death thing where if you die, you got to start over? And now they have a mode where that's not the case.
Well, I think you're misremembering. I think it still has the permadeath because it's a roguelike, but what it didn't have was the ability to like pause midway through a run. Like at all. Like you couldn't put your thing in rest mode, like it would just ruin your run or whatever, something weird like that. And that now is fixed. So you can like pause the game or save your progress or whatever, but it is still roguelike. So if you die, you still gotta go back to the beginning. But now it has co-op, which it didn't have when it first came out.
Yeah, but if I save my progress, couldn't I die and then just go back to that save point, right?
No. You gotta go back to level 1, floor 1, start from scratch. But then to beat the whole game takes like 2 or 3 hours, when you actually beat the game, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's
that's a roguelike for you.
Process. Yeah, it's still that's still stay very much on the backlog. I'm very much into not that it would be a waste of time, but I'm very much into games where I want to progress with the little time I have left.
I mean, you're making progress, but you still gotta like, okay, I gotta be World 1 again. I gotta be World now. But I have all these. Maybe I have some upgrades. Maybe I know more. Maybe there's a certain thing that unlocked there. So there is, incentives to go back and do it again. But yeah, it's a roguelike for sure, and I think this is too.
Yeah, no, I think so too. But yeah, I'd be curious to see how this. I hope it's a hit for them and that feeds that audience there. So.
Mm-hmm. A couple kind of reminder things. Well, maybe this was new. Microsoft Flight Sims coming over to PlayStation December 8th, which is just funny because it's Xbox thing with Microsoft in the title, but of course they're bringing all sorts of things over to PlayStation now, so that's a good get. I'm sure that'll sell super well. Battlefield 6 reminder, that's coming out next week, 2 weeks from now, on October 10th. With a nice new trailer there.
I called that. I remember you watched live in the stream. They were doing like a cool trailer, and I was like, "Oh, this is Battlefield," because it's just that's what Battlefield and Call of Duty do. Are you picking up Battlefield?
If it's playable through Game Pass, because Game Pass has EA Play.
It's not gonna be, no.
Oh, then no, I'm not gonna pay.
Yeah, okay. Because I don't think Taylor is either. Because he thought that too. I was talking to him and he's like, "Oh yeah," and I'm like, "Oh really?" Because I would get that too. And then I looked into it this week and I was like, "Oh no, it's not on game." It's because I remember that's how the EA Access works. It's the same thing with Madden games because they put the last year's edition on, but like the newest Madden game, I gotta wait till next year. So yeah, Battlefield is not on EA Access day one.
It's going to be a no from me, but I'll play it someday, maybe. Because a lot of the other Battlefield games are on, and whatever the most recent ones are, like those ones are all on Game Pass. But yeah, you're right, they weren't there day one, so that makes sense. Oh well, not the end of the world. Something very interesting to me, Deus Ex Remastered, coming out February 5th. I'm a immersive sim fan, but I feel like I shouldn't even say that because I haven't played System Shock and I haven't played Deus Ex, which are kind of like the originators of the genre, and is kind of where, Dishonored game I love very much is where a lot of the people who make that game like cut their teeth by making these games, working on like smaller ways, and then they went out and made their own studio and made their own. So I definitely want to play this. I played a little bit of Deus Ex Mankind, I think is that one that was on the PlayStation catalog at some point. But yeah, I need to go back and check this out. But I just find it to be a funny remaster because it doesn't look good. Like it feels like they put like the lightest coat of paint you could possibly put over it. Yeah. So like I don't know. I guess it makes it pretty authentic, but then also it's so minor of a change. Like I don't know. Maybe that first one's just like not even on a storefront right now. Maybe it's so old that you can't even just play it regularly. In which case it does have a reason to exist. But I feel like you could have just ported it. I don't know if you need like this tiny little touch up on it. So I don't know. It's kind of a weird. It's kind of weird, I guess. I just feel weird about this one. It's strange to me.
Yeah, I think we talked about there. It just didn't. It looked odd and didn't. I guess maybe it's just to sell those people that never got it. But just to me, it's like you said, just do a port.
Yep. And then next year, September 8th, get ready for Halloween the game. So you've played like. Maybe not all of these, but you've played a lot of Friday the 13th. We've played a lot of Texas Chainsaw together. So when you watch the trailer for this, Predator, there you go. I guess you haven't played Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
No, zero interest.
You haven't played the Ghostbusters
zero interest,
one. But yeah, what looks interesting or different or new about this, or is it just like the IP is iconic and the music, and therefore you're good to go?
Oh, I think it's a bit of that, but it's in the way of like I understand some people's criticisms, but for me it does. It looks like it's going to be, I doubt it will be identical, but it looks very one-to-one of the Jason game, and I had lots of fun with that. We had lots of fun with that. There is a fun stream somewhere on YouTube of us playing it the first day when the servers were awful, and we were waiting like 45 minutes in between matches and whatnot. Janky. But yeah, me and Emily used to go hard on that Friday the 13th. We would, it was pre-kids, but we would just... if it's a cold night in, play that just for hours, seeing who could get a better escape time, who could do it this way. So I have tons of already nostalgia for Friday the 13th. Obviously, that game kind of got the shit in the deal with all this lawsuit stuff that got shut down. So to me, it does, because Predator Hunting Grounds, to me, that was way more... Like, they're all objective-based games, but that had guns, and that just felt like a different type of objective. It did not feel, and that's granted, it should not feel like a Jason Voorhees serial killer game, right? But whatever game it was... that wasn't for me. Texas Chainsaw Massacre, it's funny enough that it does have some Jason-isms, but it didn't feel like a one-to-one, I think. And I think a good thing for that too was I think at times the game was kind of harder to complete. I did enjoy, like, when we did the whole, you could play as a team of killers, so I appreciate that. But I think all the L. Fauna games that I played after that just never captured that basic magic of, okay, 5 players, 1 killer, they got some abilities, go, start the car, turn on the phone. And I think what happened with at least Predator and Texas Chainsaw Massacre a little bit, where I feel like they almost overstuffed these games a little bit. I can't talk to the other two as well, but I think that to me this looks like a back to basics, and I think that obviously, yeah, you got the music, you got the outfits. So yeah, I will be there unless it's just reviewed terribly, but I don't think so. I really think it's going to be a lot of the assets and similarities from Jason to this, and yeah. That'll be great because I know we'll do some Geek First ones. We'll do during there's at least one, maybe 2 extra lives where I remember that used to be a 3 a.m. 4 a.m. game because it's like, hey, I'm falling asleep, do Jason, because like at least it's like, well, I'll stay up for this. I'm alert. So that's where I'm very excited for this game. I was very surprised by the date, but yeah, it's looking like that game just reskinned. So if you like that, then I think this is going to be up your alley. If you're kind of over it, because I think this is, I don't know what IllFonic does as far as their success and everything like that. I just feel like I wonder if this game doesn't hit if they have to kind of stop exactly this genre, because I feel like it's a lot of the similar stuff, and I kind of get it, because even with Jason, they did have a bunch of DLC planned and stuff coming that got shut down. So maybe we lived in a world where Jason is still going and they're still supporting that game, because I would say that was probably their most successful game. Do you think I'm wrong in saying that?
I don't know. I feel like Predator stuck around for a while, but I think you're probably right.
Yeah, so I don't know, and I guess I just cheer for it too, because I was there in the day where that game didn't even start as a Friday the 13th game. That started as like a game inspired by that, but it was like Cabin Killer or something like that, and the company approached them and said, hey, we would really like to attach the IP, and it's like, oh, great, and then it screwed them in the end. So, yeah, I'm really cheering for this one, and this one, as long as it plays to the same quality as Friday the 13th and isn't super buggy, it's a day one, and that's another 2026 game. So, but yeah, I don't think there's anything reinventing the wheel here. I think it's just, hey, we lost chance, and I think this is the best as far as the people, like, even when people talk about a Freddy game, it's like, a Freddy game wouldn't work like this. This is the closest to camp counselors, drug sexy teenagers, and then a big killer lumbering guy who moves and is shape-shifting. So I'm very excited.
Well, let's take our last ad break of the show, and we'll be right back to discuss the rest of the state of play. Okay, we are back. Let It Die Inferno is coming out December 3rd, and this game stood out to me. I thought this looked really cool. I loved the art style of it, very colorful and, I don't know, unique, interesting. The concept here is, it seems like a little roguelike-y, but maybe not so much, but essentially when you die and you respawn as a new character who has different stats, or it seems like in like an evolution type way, like, improved stats, like based on the things that killed you last time or something like that. Which is, funny, just based on like been playing Helldivers lately, and when you die in that, it's like you don't respawn. It's like another guy is dropped in, and now you're playing as like another guy who looks like just like your guy. So has that similar kind of idea there. This game has like a PvPvE element to it, so there's other players in there, which I don't know how I feel about that, because it seemed like a totally solid just like single player game, but there's this whole other angle to it. So it's a baffling one. There's so much to it, and it's I don't know. It just seems like it's going for something kind of crazy and different. So it's definitely on my list. Unsure if I'm picking it up at this point. Probably not day one's situation for me, but I thought it looked really cool. So, Mark,
yeah, obviously,
in that one.
Yeah, obviously, you may scare me for some of the roguelikes talk with some of that aspect, but I liked when you talk about I like the aesthetic, and I like that idea of just coming back as different characters, and it stood out as far as the colors. It looked almost like a comic book kind of come to life. It reminded me not like the same clipping and stuff as like a Miles Morales, but that where it's just like everything's very bright in your face, but textured and looks cool. So yeah, I'll be curious to see whether just reviews or if you get it and hear about it on a side quest. But yeah, it looked like at least it stood out, which is hard to do for games nowadays. So.
And another one that did that pretty damn well is Chronoscript: The Endless End, which is a bit of a goofy title, but we'll take it. Coming out 2026. So I guess the artistic setup of this one, because that's maybe the most interesting angle of it, is that it's almost like a frantic writer, creator, illustrator's office where there's just papers everywhere, strewn about the room. Just, someone who had this crazy idea one night and then like couldn't put that idea down for months at a time as they're trying to string together this story. And it's just like pages thrown everywhere, and you're a character who's kind of meandering through these pages, and sometimes the pages are disconnected, so you're like jumping into like almost like a Splatoon style, like, bunch of ink that's spilt on the table. You go through the ink, travel up to this new set of pages, and then you're going through this area, 2D side scrolling action situation. So obviously it's got a bit of that like Plucky Squire-ness to it, where it is a 2D game in the basic gameplay, but then you jump out of the pages and there's like a 3D element to it where you're traveling around. I don't know if that's just like to connect the 2D sequences, or if you actually do jump out as a 3D character like in Plucky Squire. But I thought this game had a really cool art style. Like the amount of art in here too also shocked me, just like the amount of stuff. When it zooms out at one point, it's like, god damn, this game seems expansive. But really cool concept. Like I said, it's like other games I've seen, but it kind of stands out in its own way. So yeah, I'm very intrigued by this one. I think it looks really cool. So another one that's on the radar for myself.
Yeah, I won't be. I won't say ever be playing, but it's not on the backlog list yet. But the visuals and just were eye catching. It's to the point where it's like I feel like this has to be a shoo-in for a nomination for the Game Awards. Like at least a nom, because it just.
Whoa.
I don't know. It looks, because there is many games like this, but it captured. It looked like, obviously like art, but it did that perfect thing where sometimes games do that, like trying to go back to that era. I think like the Cosmic Invasion one, Marvel's doing that, where it's like the perfect amount of it looks old, but then feels completely new and like rejuvenized. So it was eye catching. Even like, again, looking at it now, just even some of those boss battles, like that big guy that he cuts in the stomach. So yeah, maybe I'll be wrong, but to me, that game stands out big time just visually. So
yeah,
it looks very cool.
A game I know you're very intrigued by is coming out on March 19th called Crimson Desert. Why don't you tell me about this one?
Is it Crimson Desert? I already forgot. I think I was like Crimson.
I'm pretty sure.
Other D or something.
I hope my notes are correct.
No, you're probably right. I'll see if I can find it, because I got the thing up here. But yeah, it is Crimson Desert. Yeah, no, this game, it's one of those that it will for sure be review based, and I'll listen to podcasts, because it does feel like one of those almost too good to be true. I feel like I've been here before, where it's like you see a game, it's like, oh, it has this and this and this, and then day comes and 6.5s and 7, and it doesn't do this and that. But I think I'm a big fan. We've talked about this before, and I used to back in the day. I kind of fell out of the series, but like I was a big Final Fantasy, and I feel like we don't do enough. I know a couple years ago they did somewhere. Actually, that game got canceled, right? Where the guy like had the headphones and he was fighting dragons. Like, I feel like there's a fine line between cool and lame of using medieval tech or medieval aesthetics with like updated tech, and that's where I think this game looks like it could be right on line. So there's lots of medieval stuff, spells, but then all of a sudden he's like an Iron Man tech suit flying, and it's like, to me, if you can find that perfect balance, like even movies wise, it really hasn't been done. So it's just like there's tons of stuff in here that look great. You and I were both worried about being a MMO game, but then we looked at it kind of spawned from an MMO game, which I think is like super cool, because I think that's like, hey,
cool.
Let's take all the stuff that worked over there, stuff that people like you and me, where I'm not opposed to MMO, but we're just in certain places in our life where it's like we can't subscribe that, where it's like, hey, let's create this experience and put it over here. So it looked like a vast world, vast attacks. We're playing as like an Aragorn archetype, so always like a a lead with long black hair, and he's brooding a lot. So it's on the radar, but it's not like a day one yet, because I need to see, because I have not played the MMO that did review well, but yeah, it has trolls, there's lasers in it, and just some of the like I'm watching again, some of the landscapes and some of the areas, it looks like just a big grand adventure. Like there's at one point you're riding on a dragon. Like that's where I just feel like I have to wait and see, because I think there has to be something that we're missing with this game, or who knows, maybe it's just super thin and it's like a 10-12 hour game, which is not a bad thing, but I just mean like this looks like it's supposed to be like at one point you're riding a wolf too. Like, yeah, I don't know. It's the closest. I think I said this to you, and we were talking about this in the stream. It feels like the closest. I don't think we'll have those elements, but the closest that we've gone to The Witcher in a long time as far as that aesthetic. We've got other games the size of The Witcher, but in like a big medieval spell casting, in that type of 3-person, lots of fighting sense. I know someone might talk about like Elden Ring, but that's like a Souls-like game. I mean, specifically this type of genre, right? So, Yeah,
Gotcha.
I'm very excited. Could be a day one, but I will wait until we get closer to see. So if it's like a 7 out of 10, then I think I'll definitely play it. But it'll be like I'll wait for a sale or anything like that. But if we're getting some good reviews, I was very hyped on this. Again, when we're talking about Lord of the Rings, like I'm kind of missing, Witcher, Shadow of the War, that kind of aesthetic going on of like, and some of that's obviously reviewed well as well too. So
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree with everything you're saying there. It's a funny one for me where I can just picture like the developers like having like a meeting and being like, okay, let's check in. How's our game doing? And then at every meeting, someone's like, wait, what if we added this? What would it be cool if we had this idea? And just at no point, like no one ever said no. Like they just did everything. But that worries me because like that's not how games get made. You got to cut things. You got to say no. You got to scope it. And this game just feels like it's doing everything and probably too much because of that. But I also think maybe that's because it is built off the bones of what was supposed to be a sequel to their MMO Black Desert Online. And so it's like they were making this MMO sequel, but then decided to shift it over to a single player thing. And I feel like MMOs are kind of that. Like they are kind of everything games. But sometimes they maybe lack in like the actual action part of it and focus more on the RPG mechanics. But I feel like this one, because it took that pivot and isn't multiplayer and doesn't have to worry about like netcode and how it connects with other players and lag and all that stuff, like hopefully that means they can kind of get away with their wildest dreams. So I'm very intrigued by this one. I remember seeing it before and seeing it again. It's like, wow, this game could be something pretty crazy and special. But yeah, so it's another one that's on the radar for sure. And like you just got to wait and hear some actual thoughts on it when some people have played it, because it looks too good to be true to some extent. And then we got a couple pieces of tech. So as you mentioned, the speakers, it's fine. It's like Sony, I think sometimes it's easy to forget that like, oh yeah, they do make a lot of tech stuff. And so it's like, yeah, sure, speakers, why not? Throw those in the mix. Yeah. The weird one to me was the God of War controller that they showed off here, because this lines up with, I think, the 20th anniversary of God of War or something. To me, this just reeked of like, the 2D game wasn't ready. Because to me, this seems 100%. Like you show off the 2D game and you say, for celebrating 20 years of God of War, we're doing something new. We're doing a 2D game. It's not what you expect, but it's something different. And you can play it with this brand new controller. We love God of War. We know you love God of War. Let's play some God of War. And then it just like, well, the game's not ready yet, but the controller's ready. And we got to do something for the 20th year anniversary. So I guess get the controller out there and then we'll bury that by putting Wolverine directly after this, and you kind of forget about it. So really weird to me, but I this 2D God of War thing, I think it is real at this point, and I think maybe it's a case of this game probably ended up being bigger than they wanted it to be, and so that's why it's getting kicked to presumably hopefully next year, because it's been leaked and rumored like for a few months now.
For a long time,
Yeah, so hopefully it does come out next year. I'm very curious to see what that game does look like. But now it seems like you'll be able to have your controller ready to go before the game even comes out. But anyway, not much to say on that. I just kind of wanted to ruminate on the thought that I feel like this God of War thing probably was supposed to be out by now or soon, and just not quite there yet. But hopefully next year. I guess that could, because the show, I forget, is it a show or a movie that God of War is getting?
Show on Amazon.
Okay, so I wonder if there's some unison there in terms of release dates of game and show, but who knows? I don't know how much that stuff
casting Kratos right now, because the rumor is the actual voice actor's in the running to get the, like, it's not his job, but I guess they're considering him. So
Judge, that'd be cool.
Yeah, that'd be fun. He's a big guy too. He's got the voice. Like, you're good to go. As long as he can act and want to be there, I think you're good to go. Have like an automatic in with the fans. So
yeah, for sure. Okay, and then the last, Wolverine is the last thing I had in my notes. Did I skip anything that you wanted to talk about? I think
I went over that. Yeah, I looked over it again, and then there's nothing there. They did a big like tease on Gran Turismo that was annoying. Like one of our biggest franchises ever.
Oh, they just wanted to flex that it's their best-selling franchise and hit 100 million copies sold, which was surprising to me. That like I guess I never sat down and thought about it. What is PlayStation's best-selling franchise? And turns out it's Gran Turismo by like a solid margin. But I guess it makes sense if they've had them consistently, and people do love those games. And it got a movie, of course. Anyway, Marvel's Wolverine. So we talked about on the live stream. Then after the live stream was over, we talked about it for another 15 minutes. So we've already talked about this a lot, but let's go through some other details with it. Of course, the actor is known now, Liam McIntyre. Neither you or me really know him from anything, but he's got good street cred out there, so it seems like a good pick. another
Confirmed
Aussie.
Australian, yeah.
Yeah.
So we were debating about that,
That
on
pipeline.
the stream. Yeah,
That's a real pipeline at this point.
Yeah.
So in terms of locations, we got 3 locations shown off here. First being, of course, the Great Squamish, Canada, or as they describe it, just the forested wilderness of Canada. But in the trailer, you do see a road sign for Squamish. So that's, and then funny about that. So I was Googling that just to see if there's like, I don't know, some comic run that's like a specific storyline that relates to him being in Squamish or like in that area of Canada. And I couldn't really find it, but what I did find is that like the city of Squamish posted like an article of like, hey, this new game that's coming out has like a set in Squamish or whatever. So I thought that was very cute. And like the city of Vancouver also had one. So I just thought that was pretty cute. And then there's also Tokyo, Japan, which they've described as more like close quarters sort of area, very narrow streets. And then Madripoor, so that seems to be the location of where the bar is. So I'm guessing that that's kind of like where the game starts, maybe, and then you'd go to Canada later potentially. But like maybe you start in the bar sequence that kicks off some stuff. I could be totally wrong about this. Just like maybe it seems like if this is some of the footage we're getting and seeing more gameplay of, that maybe would be like some of the earlier stuff in the game. So
I feel like you would start in Canada, in my like story wise, but maybe not. Maybe something takes you back there. Because to me, it's either you start in Canada or you end in Canada. In my opinion, I don't think I don't know why it'd be the middle chapter. If that feels odd, like I feel like Wolverine's hanging out in home country, or he's gonna go back to his home country. You know?
Yeah, I mean it is a bit odd, but anyway, those are the 3 locations we have in Madripoor. Like, really great visuals. Like that's my favorite visually. Obviously, I love those Canadian forests, of course. But we got to see a lot more of Madripoor, so it's easier to find that connection. But it also seems like story wise, there's just been a lot of different comic book runs and stuff that kind of connect Wolverine with that location, that specific bar that I forget the name of, but is a known location, that kind of thing. But obviously, we don't really know at this point in time. Are these mini open worlds that you can do vast exploration in? Are they kind of linear sequences where you're going through and then maybe there's like slightly small, like bigger areas where you can explore a little bit more? But I don't know. What do you think about that? And then do you think that we're going to get many more locations in this, or is it like 3 like somewhat expansive areas that we're going to get and we already kind of know what they are?
I would love it if they just said 3, but the 4th one was the X Mansion. Even if it's just one level there, even if it's like a training danger room, like, and there's another thing. That's where the game could start, right? Is that you're on the Xavier grounds. So I could see that, and like you go around the school and explore.
I'll jump in there real quick and say that they did kind of in the PlayStation blog describe this as like, oftentimes Wolverine, he's on his own, and this is one of those times. So I'm guessing we're not going to get much X-Mansion stuff, big X-Men crossover. Maybe you'll see a couple characters, because one of the things they said, I don't think I have the quote here, but they're like, you'll fight a bunch of people, such as we've shown off Omega Red and Mystique. Sometimes people will team up with Wolverine. So they did hint at that as well, that at some point there's going to be, and whether it's just like a cop in the streets who like is shooting at Mystique for you, I don't know. But anyway, I cut you off a little bit there. But
no, that's okay. I would love it to be a sequence, because the only reason why I think there's a chance of it, and who knows, tons of stuff has changed. We even talked about like the Venom game was supposed to come up before this. It's not. But I don't know if you remember back in the day when that leak happened. The game after Wolverine was an X-Men game, right? That was on their whole docket. So
wasn't it like a multiplayer scenario? Yeah.
So that's why I still think there could be something. Now, don't get me wrong. I think even if it's not a level, it's at least a cutscene, whether it's the beginning or end or somewhere. At some point, he will be, at at the X Mansion. But if it's just those 3, that's fine. I think the way I described it is, I don't even know if they'd be that big, but I would love it to be like the way Indiana Jones was, where those were 3 different little open world areas and they had all the things you could explore. So together they weren't massive, but by themselves they were,
right. And then they had like interstitial sequences of different areas, but those were way more linear and just like you spend a half an hour or an hour in this one spot.
Yeah. So I screwed up by saying where separately they're not massive, but together it is, not massive, but it like feels like an open world.
And you can go back to them and there's side quests there and la-di-da. Like there's bonus things to do. Yeah.
And I think that's why we'll see what happens. I don't think they're going to take it out of there, but that's one thing that, lots of complaints about, the next Spider-Man that people are like, oh, I'd really like to get in New York. And it's like, I don't know if that's going to happen. I think New York is so tied to that character, but I do get that point of like, oh, like how many more buildings can you add? Right. So I think it's a good way to 3 different locations, obviously one important to where Logan's born, Japan, always important storyline. And Madripoor is like, that's popped up in the MCU. It's a very popular comic book place in Marvel, but specifically X-Men. So I like all the locations, but yeah, that's what I'm envisioning is Indiana Jones type of. It's 3 locations with some things you can explore, but I still think they'll be mostly like pretty narrative driven. Like I think you'll have stuff like Spider-Man where there'll be a side quest here or there, or there'll be like a help this woman's getting robbed, maybe help her out, or just like bad thugs on the street. But
Yeah. So another thing that's on the blog, I forget if they actually mentioned it on the stream itself, was that the primary enemy faction that Wolverine's up against in this game are called the Reavers. And so the primary members, just according to Wikipedia, of the Reavers are a guy called Donald Pierce, the Great Lady Deathstrike, a guy named Pretty Boy, our favorite Bone Breaker, Skullbuster, and then there's like some other ones in the mix there. But Bone Breaker, of course, if you go to our X-Men animated retrospective, you can hear our praise for Bone Breaker, who would be a fun-ass boss fight in this game. Lady Deathstrike, obviously that's a huge connection point for Wolverine and makes sense as being a character in here. Could even be the primary villain.
Too,
yeah,
yeah,
there you go. And then the Donald Pierce one is one I thought was quite interesting because he's like a cyborg type character, and a lot of the people that Wolverine's ripping up in this trailer are like cyborg type people. Like he's ripping them up, and it's clearly like they're semi-synthetic to some extent. So it feels like there's maybe some connection point there. And then further to that, I was looking into it, and apparently like the Reavers operated in Madripoor, like from the Wikipedia, like Donald Pierce is kind of set up there and things like that. So it seems like that could be a potential connection point between what's going on here.
Yeah, I know. I saw the 2 pass on the stream. I took the wrong one, but I did say, because all the things I said, it's going to be someone techie. I was going the Bolivar-esque because that ending with the Sentinels. I thought, it's going to be more of that. But this makes sense. Shout out to one of our listeners, Chris Evans, because he was watching us and he messaged after. He's like, I think it's Reavers. And he hit the nail on the head. And that was before like all this stuff had come out, because I was like, I didn't even think about the Reavers, because that was another. But like I said, it was going to be somewhat tech-based because there's too many just cyborg enemies in this. It had to be. Makes sense too. They're still going for an M rating, but I think it's probably also easier to animate some machines more than all the body parts all the time. And then shout out to Cocktail Clay, because Donald Pierce, Dylan, you've seen that character and reviewed a movie with that character. That's who Boyd Holbrook played in Logan when he had the robotic arm. Yeah,
okay, cool.
So he has some live action history there. So I think that's a perfect set of characters. Like Omega Red is tons of fun. You're right, where Lady Deathstrike could literally be the main villain. Even Donald Pierce could be the main villain. Hell, make it Bonebreaker, which was great. Hype moment, talking about Extra Life when we got to play the Punisher game and Bonebreaker appeared. So, he's due for a video game redux. He's due to be back. So, I think this is a perfect setup. And I think this is like a lot of characters that, to me, if they were to, I'm going to imagine Wolverine's a big hit, and let's say they plan on doing that X-Men game. I'm not saying these characters would not fight the X-Men, but this feels like a lot of good, more side characters for a Wolverine to take on. Other than maybe Omega Red, to me, when we do X-Men, you're getting into your Mr. Sinister, Apocalypse, Magneto. So to me, the Reavers and all these characters are perfect foils for Wolverine in a single-player game. So and it's funny, I still think he'll be there, but I think he's the one they're holding back. But I'm still waiting for that Sabretooth drop, or if Sabretooth is like a Venom sequel holdback, if that's like we're gonna hold off on him, right? Because they have a lot of history. That is a big character. I feel like if Sabretooth is in a game with Wolverine, it's almost hard not to picture him as like either the main bad guy or working with main bad guy. I
could see him bumping around in Squamish. He's kind of Sasquatchy.
Yeah. So, but it's a question of like, is that a setup or is he like a boss battle? But I almost said Sasquatch. With Sabretooth, I feel like there could be some illusions, also Mystique's in there. So we'll see. But yeah, I love all those characters as potential enemies. So.
Yeah. And then one thing I wanted to ask you about, so obviously in Spider-Man, the game, the first one, you have like the Miles MJ sequences. In Spider-Man 2, you obviously have 2 characters, and then Venom's in there for a sequence. Do you think there is a other playable character in this game for like some small sequence, whether that is like a hero like the Venom sequence in Spider-Man 2 to spoil that, I guess, or if it's like a human, like a Moira, whatever her name is from,
or even Mystique,
someone like her
in this trailer. That's who my mind jumps to, because she's sometimes
a little stealth sequence
back and forth. Yeah, to me,
transform into people. That could be kind of fun, actually. Like do some like Hitman, like disguise switching. That could be fun.
I'll take that in the X-Men game. I want to play as Wolverine. I don't want to play. I'll give them the Venom sequence in Spider-Man is a 10/10. Perfect, some of the funnest video game stuff ever. If they want to do that, where you're playing as Omega Red, you're playing as Sasquatch, you're playing as Sabretooth, great. But I would not want them to carry over the stealth missions or the Miles Morales. Like, where's my mom? Like, I don't really want any of that with Wolverine. And I also think they shouldn't do that to kind of do something else. Hopefully it's something I like, but do something to differentiate, because I just don't. I think with the 3 locations and stuff like that, if you did another one, it's more comparisons to Spider-Man. I wish they would find a new way, something else that's specific to Wolverine, X-Men, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think that's a good point. I don't know. Is there anything else here? I feel like we have already discussed this a bit, but yeah, I don't know. I feel like we didn't, we don't get much details here on like what the RPG systems are going to be like. We obviously don't know how much open world
skill tree, Dylan. It's going to suck.
We don't know how open worldy it is. Like, there's still so many questions. It's more just this gave us a little bit more to chew on and give us a bit more setting and character stuff. But yeah, anything else that is piquing your interest about this one right now?
No, the only thing I brought up the stream again, or I brought the stream, so I'll bring up here again. I really want to know. They talk about their bleeding mechanics or their bleeding tech. I do want to know about the healing stuff. If it's just cutscene based or if it is, excuse me, in the actual game. Because to me, it's like in 2009, if you could pull it off on the Xbox 360 of literally getting Wolverine down to an adamantium skeleton, how can you not figure out here? So I'd really like that confirmed. Even just like in general, I'd like to know how the healing factor, like, is it something where you heal over time in a mission, or is it just video game where get the health orbs and that gets Logan up? No, I think that's pretty much it. Like, I trust them. Like, and even Spider-Man 2 to me is still, like, people dog on that game. I think to me that's just a expectations versus reality thing. I wanted more Spider-Man. It was good. They didn't nail the story like I was hoping to kind of evolve that, but I still think like both all three, Spider-Man, Miles Morales, Spider-Man 2, I've enjoyed to varying degrees. I think they're gonna hit the nail of the park, or hit the ball of the park with this one, hit the nail on the head. So yeah, the only question I'll ask you is, do you think we see it at Game Awards again?
Well, no, because they said we'll tell you more in the spring, I think.
I know, but I think because if this game hits when they want it, I feel like I'm saying just like another 30-second teaser, even if there's just like a character reveal, because I feel you're not going to get Game Awards next year, and Game Awards is the most game watched thing of the year by far, right?
True.
Like that is the place. So
Summer Game, like I just feel like they'd wait for Summer Game Fest time.
I think that's like the gameplay slice. Like that's like, we're going to show you 10 minutes of Wolverine. Like my prediction is you're going to see, even if it's 20 to 30 seconds, something at Game Awards, because that just feels odd not to show anything at Game Awards. Like I guess we live in a digital age, so maybe not. But even then, it's weird, and that's the other thing I will say. It's weird to get this trailer, and they're saying, hey, it's coming out 2026 September, and then saying spring. Why do we need a showcase in spring? This game's not coming out for a bunch of months, right? In that, like when you get, so my thing is, I think they just want to pump it. I think they want to keep this, like, get you hyped so you don't forget about it in the GTAs and stuff, the Lego Batmans, all the bigger games. So that's the idea, is revealed here. Even to me, if it's just 30 seconds of just showing one quick thing of another villain, or even just a variation of this trailer, I think it's going to be there, because that's why, to me, that showcase in spring to me shows, they just want to pimp this thing out as much as they can, because they don't need a showcase in spring. That game's like 9 months away at that point. Why are they showing us in spring? More like that's like a August, July showcase, not a, I'd say March,
spring
April.
Could mean like May 28th.
It could. It could. We'll see.
Yeah.
But
I'm not gonna pizza bet you, but I don't think that's what's going on here. I think if anything, maybe maybe they pulled the God of War 2D game because they wanted some sauce to put at the Game Awards or something. Like maybe this might be too far thinking. I don't know if they can even plan this stuff, but like Christopher Judge, the voice of Kratos, has become a big Game Awards presence guy. He's up there. He presents the award for best voice performance, and maybe right before that or right after that he says, and check out this trailer, and then it's like the God of War trailer. Maybe do something like that. I feel like that's maybe the PlayStation. I don't know. I'm trying to think if the PlayStation has something else. Like if Guerrilla's probably not ready for an announcement. I don't know who else would be ready to go with a huge announcement, but maybe If they want something, I think it's God of War. But yeah,
I don't think Naughty
I trust
Dog.
them on the spring for Wolverine thing.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no, I trust. I think that's happening. So we'll see.
One thing I should have asked you earlier with the playable character thing, since they already have the tech, Spider-Man for one mission pops in there.
No, I don't think so. Not yet. Not yet. They gotta.
I'll go 7% chance. Maybe
Wait,
even
he
15%
pops.
chance.
He pops in there to appear or as a playable mission.
Like one mission, you play as Spider-Man.
Oh, they gotta let Wolverine run on his own first. They're gonna wait. They're gonna
You
wait
think
for that.
so? Okay.
Yeah, I think so.
You just don't think that would be like a huge pop moment for people? Like, oh my god,
No,
Spider-Man.
it would be massive, and I would love it. But I don't think they're gonna go down that road yet. I think they're all gonna just focus on Venom for now.
Fair enough. Fair
Yeah.
enough. Okay, anything else on Wolverine or the state of play?
No, I'm excited. I'm excited it's out there. Hopefully they keep to that date. I think they will. Insomniac's pretty good for their time frame. So yeah, I'm very excited for that game and that review, and it should be a good one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, me as well. Definitely picking that one up. I know I backed out of Spider-Man 2 last minute, but Wolverine I will be there for sure. So yes, we will stay tuned for that. For the Game Awards, we'll see if we see more there to Travis's prediction. And yeah, thank you everyone for listening. We'll be back next week. Have a good one. Bye-bye.